welcome to episode 15 of Eye on Hong Kong. We are back. This is Harminder.
This is Kay.
And I'm Lee.
And, of course, we're going to discuss the most important topic, that happened this week. It was a bombshell announcement.
No chicken.
Live chickens are back in Hong Kong. From the mainland. They were banned for 6 weeks. That's a bit... No, I'm just kidding.
But I thought they said no chicken in the Moon Festival.
No, 500 pigeons just came in through the Chung Sha Wan temporary wholesale
Wonderful
market.
News.
Yes. Very important. Most important.
End of the show. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. No, first off, we're just going to start off the show by giving the
Shame on you.
award to Li Fai.
Yay.
Li Fai, who came into Hong Kong and basically gave Hong Kong a giant middle finger.
No, he brought these precious jade and a beautiful girl to Hong Kong.
Quote, unquote. Is what he's calling this so-called political reform. And, Li Fai, the Vice General Secretary of the National People's Congress Standing Committee. Geez, are these titles so pretentious or what? He comes in, and of course it was already kind of leaked last week that they were going to go with a conservative framework. And I'll be honest, myself, I was really hoping that it was just a source that wasn't really in the know and just kind of gave a good guess. But man, what they presented was worse than even I could have possibly thought.
Why would you say that is worse?
Because really, I was expecting...
We got a vote now. We can vote now. Yay.
Moving on. I was really expecting them to go conservative, but not this conservative. I really thought they were going to say, well, we're going to expand the nominating committee to about 2,400 people. We'll let some district councillors in there or some sort of democratic element into that nominating committee. Maybe they would have gotten rid of the corporate voting. Maybe they would have said 3 to 4 candidates is good instead of the 2 to 3, and the threshold stays the same of 1/8. I thought worst case scenario, they may say 1/3. Okay? But, man, what do they drop on us? The nominating committee is going to be the same. It's not just going to have a title change called an election committee. Election committee to the nominating committee. 1,200 people, just like the last time. Just like when C.O. Leung got in there.
Yeah.
Then they're going to have 2 to 3 candidates tops. Most likely 3. Because 2 is ridiculous. And finally, the worst thing that happened, you need 50% support of the nominating committee. 50 freaking percent. Now, if you have 3 candidates, obviously that means they have multiple votes.
Yeah.
If you only have 2 candidates, then you only have 1 vote. So I guess, you guys can decide that one thing. Oh, yeah, we're giving Hong Kong a lot of autonomy now.
But if you have a vote and you have 2 votes, you're likely to use your 2 votes exactly the same way. So it's a complete travesty of the truth to say that having 2 votes mean you'd vote 1 for somebody who's on the left and 1 for somebody who's on the right. If you're on the left,
in this case, both are on the left.
On the right.
In this case, they're all coming from the left.
So you can vote twice for Communist Party member A or twice for Communist Party member B.
But there is still some room for negotiation. Do you guys think that...
Negotiate what?
From the...
what color paper ballot we can have?
Also, there is a professor from Hong Kong, Simon Yang. He says that we should, we can still negotiate because they have not decided these 1,200 people, how would they be elected. So we can also try to propose to PLC that we may want these 1,200 people to be, genuinely representing the whole Hong Kong people.
But didn't they say the composition has to be the same as the current election committee, which is based on 4 sectors of 300 people in each 4 sectors?
Yeah, that's true.
So haven't they already said that it has to mirror the
4
same?
sectors? You just have to decide what the sector. How are you going to vote on those people? I mean, they're going to. There's too much weight given to the agriculture and fisheries sector, so they may reduce that and give it more to the finance sector or something. That's what they're saying here. Decide on that.
I have a question for you, Mr. Lawyer.
Me?
Article 45 says it should be broadly representative. The nominating committee should be broadly representative. Okay, if this was ever challenged in court, the composition of the election committee would fail the broadly representative test quite easily because it doesn't represent 2/3 of the population in Hong Kong. What are the legal mechanisms open to anybody in this city to say this is in violation of Article 45? Because it's not broadly representative.
Naturally, that would be the judicial review in Hong Kong that you can challenge the constitution. But the thing is that I think the Bar Association also make a statement saying that today or yesterday they met these people from PLC. And then after
Tuesday.
And then they say that it's quite difficult to challenge the decision because the NPCSC blah 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 has already made the decision that they have the overriding power on top of the basic law.
So whatever they say is an automatic reinterpretation of basic law. So therefore, there's no point challenging it.
It'll just go in a circle. I mean, you can go to court, and then the NPC will interpret it. Then the courts will challenge back to the NPC who will say the same thing.
But that may well be the case? That the end game may well be that there is no change. But isn't the fact of going through the process of judicial review and having the Court of Final Appeal adjudicate it as unconstitutional? Isn't that politically worthwhile doing?
I don't think so, because at the end you get the interpretation from PLC, and then you'll get the same result. And
I know the end game will be exactly the same as it is now, but isn't it from a political point of view, for making a point that judicially and legally
political public relations,
it's incompatible with basic law. So if you listen to every single pro-Beijing politician over the last few months, they always make the case that we will have universal suffrage in strict accordance with basic law, okay, which overlooks two things. I think, firstly, that the nominating committee isn't broadly representative as it's supposed to be. And secondly, what's the second point? Secondly is... can't think of the second point. It was when
you. I'll let you come back to that, because the 1,200 people nominating committee represents 0.00017% of the population.
How is that voted on indirectly by 320,000 people? Isn't it?
250,000.
It's not even broadly representing the 1% of these Occupy Wall Street people.
Exactly.
People.
The second point I've remembered was the love Hong Kong, love China patriotism clause.
Yeah.
That isn't mentioned in basic law anywhere.
But
it's an essential requirement for the chief executive candidate. So that is non-compliant or incompliant or whatever the word is with basic law.
So clearly the NPC is just making it up as it goes. They'll put on, like Martin Lee said, they're moving the goalposts. Well, yeah, now it means now you must have this, now you must do that, blah, blah, blah. They don't stick to anything today that they may think, well, because they say this a lot too, based on the current situation, based on the current political environment, based on the current social environment, we must do this. So, there's nothing really anybody can do, but either the Pan Dems will veto this proposal because you need a 2/3 majority in LegCo to pass this proposal, or they will pass it and we'll get Iranian-style democracy where it's vetted by the Ayatollah Xi Jinping, and that's who our chief executive is next. Because supposedly, where are they getting this 5 million voters from? 3.2 are registered. 3.2 million registered. Barely a million participate in the. Just over a million participate in the LegCo elections.
5 million of people
eligible, but 3.2 are registered, and just over a million actually go and vote during voting time for LegCo. So, well, here's an idea, and this is something that was put forward by law professor Simon Young. Take this proposal, get bum rushed by it, and then go to the polls and cast a blank vote. Because that will definitely, could you imagine a vote of, say, 500,000 people actually vote and like 2 million blank votes? That will completely make the entire process look farcical. Because they'll say, this is not a genuine choice. We don't want this person. Then what happens? Or does Beijing because they are the ultimate authority of who becomes CE, because they can reject or accept. will just say, no, that doesn't count. We did that. Ha, 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 ha. It's just a joke that they're playing. This is legitimate, blah, blah, blah.
I disagree with him. I think first when he said that there's still some room for negotiation, I don't believe that too.
On what?
And I also think that how many times you have to, be cheated and then you will say you will divorce. I mean, he must be a very good guy. Someone who's cheated on him so many times and he still said, "Oh, okay, I will forgive you and I will negotiate with you and I will be with you." And then, unless in the very final stage that, then I will say divorce. He didn't even say divorce. He would just say, "I will cast a blank vote." I don't think that's the time. I don't think.
Well, in theory, it could work because I do remember a case in an election in Argentina in the end of the 90s. There was such massive disapproval of both candidates that 40% of people voted in blank.
And what happened?
And the government said, "Yeah, we get the message," and it did cause a major stir, and it did reduce the guy's credibility significantly. The question is, will people get out and vote for blank vote? There is enough apathy as it stands, and by the time we get to the election, most people would have forgotten what's going on at the moment.
I don't think so. I think that because, this isn't like other countries where a lot of people are apathetic. I will give Hong Kong this. People are more politically aware in this city than I've pretty much seen anywhere else that I visited or keep up in the news. I think by 2017, you see, with the Occupy Central situation, they've kind of changed tactics from all-out Occupy Central to incremental and sporadic and homogenous protests and civil disobedience, where it'll be in the news. It just won't. They'll keep it in the news by not doing it so often. Maybe once every 3 months. So somebody will disrupt a LegCo session. Somebody will confront a pro-establishment politician on the street and be on YouTube. I think they'll keep it in the news cycle that way. And by 2017, we will still remember what happened. People haven't even forgotten what the Democratic Party did in 2010 when they accepted a horrible proposal that really did nothing for Hong Kong democracy. It just went in a circle. It went in a 360. So people still haven't forgotten and it's been 4 years.
But funny is that the Democratic Party is still saying that they did a great job that make Hong Kong.
Are they still saying that?
They still say that. I think they started it last month. But Jamie Lai last week.
I think they're just saving face.
Jimmy Lai last week finally said that they make a wrong choice in the year 2010.
Because it's I can understand why he held his tongue, because you don't want to fracture the already very fragile pan-democratic camp. But I don't think they accepted a very good deal. Do you?
I don't think. I do support them too.
What do? They just expanded the functional constituency side by 5 and the directly elected side by 5. It was 60 before, it's 70 now. How is that a progress of the democratic process? Just more butts in the seat.
I guess if the proportion of directly elected as a proportion of the total didn't change, then there's no progress.
50-50.
If politically, again, I think we have to look at the politics of all of this. Politically, if Beijing budged because it had to budge on something and it was forced to budge, then that itself is significant. So maybe it should have been done. It was the right thing to do for that reason.
Did they budge?
They were holding out, and then they did change it. So the fact that it demonstrated that they may say no, and then right up to the last minute they did change it. In this case, I think people were anticipating that the same would happen, that they'd say no, and then at the very, very, very last minute,
which is a very communist tactic.
But they didn't.
But the thing is, the last time they also said something like, you should take it this time, and then we'll change it at a later stage. Then this year, when they come up with the proposal for the election of legislative council, they changed nothing.
It took 20 years to get this thing, so-called reform. In 20 years, what are we going to get? Well, now the nominating committee goes to 2,400, and you get a 25% nomination threshold. I would rather the Pan-Democrats veto this. Why? Because with the 1/8 requirement to be nominated in the CE election, at least a Democrat can get in, inject real issues during the debates, because they'll be screened out of the debates if we accept this proposal, if the Pan Dems and the Hong Kong public accept this proposal, there will be no Democrat. They'll do a farcical. We'll do it online. We'll do some sort of street, amongst ourselves. That's not effective. You get a Pan Dem in the election, in the CE election, in the debates. He or she will inject real issues that they don't want to touch, because I guarantee it. If you have it's 3 flavors of cyanide. Do you want chocolate? Do you want strawberry? Or do you want banana-flavored cyanide? That's what they're giving us. There's no difference between Iran, where the mullah just picks up, the Ayatollah just says, yeah, you guys can stand. Or one's slightly moderate than the other, but at the end of the day, they're all authoritarians.
Yeah, very, very educated when you say.
I think that's an insult to Iran, if you don't mind my saying so.
How so?
Because at least Rouhani is actually standing up to the Ayatollahs and the people who imposed the system in the first
Supposedly.
place.
I mean, if they want to dump him, they'll dump him, and he has no choice but to leave. It's that simple.
Yeah, ultimately, yes.
Yes.
One thing we have to remember that we were promised to have our universal suffrage in the year 2008, not year 2017.
It started in 97, actually.
Yeah.
Then they moved it to 2007 or 8. Then they moved it to 2017.
Yeah.
Now that we're here, they're giving us this.
I couldn't accept it.
I'd veto it in a heartbeat.
Not even a bit. And of course, then the Pan Dem, they have already signed this joint declaration that they will veto
and they should.
Proposal.
In my opinion, they should. I mean, this is completely unacceptable. Like I said, the current system at least allows a 1/8 threshold, allows for a Pan Dem to be nominated. No chance in hell they're going to be voted in. But at least they'll be in the debates, they'll be in public, they'll be in the printed materials putting out their viewpoint.
And I think one good thing is that now we don't have to think about negotiation. Everyone is united now. There's only one way out. That is the Occupy Central.
But now you saw Benny Tai going on Bloomberg television saying Occupy Central failed because our threat of a full-scale blockade of the business district did not affect Beijing's decision on what the reform proposal was going to be. And he's correct on that. The threat some say the threat made them go even on a harder line. And I think it was the quote by Benny Tai was taken a little bit out of context. I agree with him on that. But he didn't say we're ending Occupy Central, there's no chance. He's just saying, well, support's kind of waning because obviously people are heartbroken by this. They thought that they'd get some sort of concession, there'd be some sort of improvement. But I don't think at this point, I don't think a full-scale blockade is what they're going to do first. It'll be a last resort. Now it's going to be incremental and, on and off civil disobedience / protests, spontaneous, like flash mobs kind of thing, against, certain people that support this horse pucky. You know what I mean?
I think the other good thing about this proposal was that I noticed that when I joined this ceremony or the rally, I call it, on Sunday, the Occupy Central, they have this gathering outside the headquarters of the government building, and then these young people from the universities, they said something on stage that is a new time that we will have a new movement of democracy.
It's an era of civil disobedience.
Yeah. It's an era of disobedience.
Yeah.
And then they also said that it's the end of the believer who believe that the return to the motherland with the democracy, that's the end of their era too.
Have all 27 Pan Dems said they will veto it? All of them? Every single
26, I think, signed the pledge.
Who is not?
Raymond Wong.
Raymond Wong. He's the only one. Why has he not said he will?
Wong Ik-man is very...
but I think he made a statement that he will veto that.
He will veto it too. He just didn't sign it.
If there's no civil nomination.
Yeah.
Okay, so all 27 Pan Dems will vote against, so it will fail LegCo 2/3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not going to pass.
No.
The moderates said
unless
there's
they
no
change
chance.
their mind. So the moderates being
someone like Charles Mock.
Charles Mock signed the.
He signed it, but who are the moderates? He's asking.
The one from the
accountancy sector, right?
Yes.
And one from the teachers
Yes.
sector. There's 3 functional constituencies. Who are the other 2?
The other one is Ronnie Tong, and
Ronnie Tong.
and one more is from the medical.
Medical, maybe.
So they're all functional constituency members, bar one, and they are classified as the moderate Pan Dems. So they're
Right.
they're non-party affiliated functional constituency members, and they would be considered as the ones that the government is trying to persuade to vote in favour. And they have all, to a man or woman, totally said they will veto this.
Correct.
What is likely to change? Is anything likely to make them change their minds? Because when will they actually have the chance to vote for it? In December?
No.
Next year?
They
Next
said
year.
it must be before June 2016. Yeah, it must be before then.
So if the next phase is the Hong Kong government has to tweak with the little bits within this framework, then they have to make another presentation to Beijing in December, then it goes to LegCo sometime next year, and then they veto
Well,
it.
first
Is
it's
that
a
the plan?
public consultation round 2. That's what's happening now.
So
and
more
that
money and more civil servants' time on something that's already been decided.
That's right.
Okay.
And well, basically they're gonna it's going to be a full court press PR campaign to shove this down our throats. But anybody that can, like I said, rub 2 brain cells together knows that this is not real democracy. This is a sham of it. I mean, international professors that teach this for a living, that have doctorates and PhDs in this subject, who know what real democracy is, like Regina Ip's tutor for her dissertation for her master's, was it, or PhD? I think it was a master's. Professor Larry Diamond from Stanford University.
Why do you make that voice?
Because that's how she always says, oh, I'm from Stanford. He said, this is a sad day for Hong Kong and for democracy. This seems to be about the worst outcome imaginable, no progress towards democracy, not even a timetable toward democracy. That's true. There's no extra timetable, like what's the next step? And frankly, not even any effort to gesture towards democracy. It's difficult to see, and I like this line, it's difficult to see how, under this Iranian-style rigged system, pro-democracy forces will have any chance of nominating a candidate of their own. And he's correct. And he's not the only one that said that.
I think we've got to look at the politics of this. I think the way forward, Occupy Central or otherwise, there's quite a lot that could be done to humiliate and shame and make people squirm and get facts out. So, firstly, we ought to be starting questioning the conclusions reached in the consultation exercise. We have to do that. There must be a way of digging out whether the consultation exercise was a sham, which we know it to be, which we can prove that it was a sham.
SCMP actually did that.
They made a start at it, and they said that there were God knows how many photocopied submissions from members of the DAB on the same template, and the government used a bias system of counting those, but if you'd excluded those, it was actually pretty much 50-50, something like that, right? So what laws exist or what powers of disclosure exist in Hong Kong to make them fess up to the fact that they produced a complete sham?
Judicial review.
Judicial review. Is there a case for saying judicial review of the conclusions based on the consultation exercise are fraudulent?
I think somebody actually is contemplating
doing
that.
They have, yes, but they said it was too late. Okay, it may have been too late to affect the NPC's decision, but is it too late to humiliate the government in doing that?
There are multiple ways to humiliate the government. One way for sure is that LegCo is not going to let anything pass now for funding that the government wants, and there are a lot of projects that are already backed up now for the first time in Hong Kong history. And they're going to continue to do it, especially on contentious issues like the third airport runway and so forth.
But what about Chee-hwa Leung has the power to dissolve?
He can dissolve it, but then that's as much as a humiliation as what's going to happen. Are people vote him back in?
But then, of course, they can just say that, these are Pan Dem people, they're always trying to block all these bills and they don't care about the livelihood of Hong Kong people.
Gridlock is good. You don't want a rubber stamp legislator.
But then they're winning the PR battle. This is what worries me, that the Pan Dems are doing a dreadful job at polishing their own PR and coming across as the moral victors out of this. They are looking like the losers and they're looking like the glass throwers and the idiots of all of this, and they're not going to be able... If Chee-hwa Chee-hwa Loan did dissolve LegCo, I bet you that the Pan Dems would lose seats. And
Well,
that
we
is
will
very,
know
very
in
dangerous.
2016 because that's when the
That's true.
LegCo election is coming up.
That's true.
And if the executive and the pro-establishment keep up their PR, they could throw out more Pan Dems, and then they could ram the proposal for the CE election right through if they wanted to.
We have to look at the institutions of this place, and the only decent institution is the legal system here. It's the only decent one. It's the only one that works for the time being, that works properly, and we have to use that. So if judicial review is the way to do it, it's long, it's tedious, it's a bit geeky for most people.
But who's going to pay for it?
Well, if enough people want to do it, then I would pay for it.
You don't want to know the legal fees.
I would contribute to paying for it.
Maybe
No way
they
I
can
could
see
afford
that
to do
legal
it.
Pool, start like a legal fund.
Start a legal fund to get judicial review of the reports that Leung and Carrie Lam made about the consultation exercise. If enough people think that it was a sham, because it clearly was a sham.
I think they could get poor people to apply for the legal aid in this case as well.
But if it's unsuccessful, then a legal fund would be a better way. No,
Is that another way of proceeding? Why don't we use this lever? I don't understand why we're not using this one of the three branches of power in the city. Why aren't we using that?
Like he said, everybody knows the outcome. Whatever the legal system says,
the outcome is known. When we can't change the outcome, I accept
Yeah.
that the outcome is known. It's the fact that you go through the process of humiliating somebody to make it very clear that it was a sham. That in itself is worthwhile doing, even though the outcome will not change. The outcome will not change now, but the outcome might change 10 years down the line. It's a very worthwhile investment for the long term. I think what people are after politically, they're after a quick fix, and there isn't one, right? So if you're really serious about sticking your finger up the arse of the CCP, and you can bleep that one out.
No, leave it.
If you're really serious about doing that, which most people are, ultimately the Pan Dems want to do that, and most people in Hong Kong want to do that, then it's a very, very, very long game. And it's not going to be a quick fix. And you have to do these kinds of things. You have to expose every single rotten core, every single rotten part of this sham-filled, crassly stupid exercise that they've coming across and saying this is democracy and everybody's universal suffrage and blah blah blah. Isn't this nice? You have to do that.
And since you guys talking about the legislative council election as well, and then I think they should also focus on that election too, because it's quite important in the way that they maybe in the year 2016 they don't get enough seats or enough people to veto the proposal. Then what will happen?
Anything can change from then and now. Who knows? Maybe pro-establishment people will be thrown out of the directly elected seats. It could happen.
Very unlikely, right?
Well, I know. It depends on the quality.
voters
It depends on the quality of cooking oil that's being given out. I understand that, but my point is that it's possible that they can be. The Pan Dems have to go all out on the PR, and
that is something that they are not good at.
I know it's true. It's true. They are very fractured, fragmented, even within their own parties. There are people who are, I'm a moderate, I'm more hardline, I'm this, I'm that, and then they splinter and create their own parties, and then you're like, wait, you're from that party and you're from that party. I mean, it's ridiculous. I understand. But they have to one little thing can change the outcome of an entire election. Let me give you an example. 2012 district council election. Civil Party got hammered in the 2012 district council election. Why? Because there was a judicial review going on about
the
foreign domestic helpers being allowed to have the right to apply for permanent residency in Hong Kong. Now, what did the pro-establishment do? They said no. The Civic Party, because Gladys Lee was the lawyer of the person who brought forward the judicial review. She's a Civic Party member, and
she was on the legal aid panel. She was nominated to represent them.
But she is a Civic Party member.
Right.
So what happened was the DAB and their supporters and the pro-establishment, they went all out in the PR and said, the Civic Party wants all 200,000+ foreign domestic helpers permanent here. They will suck our resources. They will suck our welfare. You will be on the streets. You'll be eating rats out of dumpsters if you allow this to happen. It worked. And so many Civic Party and Democratic district councillors got thrown out.
Yeah.
And it worked.
I take your point that the Pan Dems could be easily attacked by a very little point, but not the pro-establishment party, because they got all these votes that they will vote them anyway, and then they all, all these old people getting some
oyster sauce,
all these advantages from them, and they will
cooking
vote
oil.
them.
So if that's why you have to play dirty, then play dirty. So why aren't the Pan Dems doing something? They
They're
take a moral.
poor. They don't have the money to pay these people, right?
But if that's the way the
Jimmy Lai's got to win Mark
politics
6.
If that's the way that it works, then you have to play that game rather than take a moral high ground and say this is too dirty
for us. Don't
forget,
in year 2012, right before the election, what happened was the national education. We all thought that because of the national education, they would win a lot of seats. But at the end of the day, even from the number of votes, they did win a lot, but they did not win a lot of seats from the legislative council because of the system.
What's the percentage of vote, directly elected vote, split between Pan Dem and pro-government, roughly?
Used to be 60-40.
60-40. Pan Dem,
last year, last time we call it golden proportion, but now the golden proportion broke already in year 2012. Now it's probably like 55 versus 45.
So if every single Legco seat were directly elected...
No, still 60-40.
If every single seat were directly elected in Legco, there will be a Pan Dem majority.
Most likely.
No, not in the last election of year 2012. It's 50.
The 27 Pan Dems, right?
Not from the seats, not from the number of the seats, from the number of the votes.
Why for a simple idea, right? I mean, call it stupid, but the DUB is nothing more than the Chinese Communist Party with a different colour, right? It's the Chinese Communist Party of Hong Kong. It uses a different name, but that's what it is. I think even most of them would admit that is what it was. Why aren't the Pan Dems going around saying the Chinese Party of Hong Kong, commonly known as the DUB? It's a way of slurring them. Why aren't they doing that? Because most people do not like the Chinese Communist Party. Most people, if they knew that the DAB was really the Chinese Communist Party with a different colour, they would not vote for them. So why don't they do this? That's politics. It's dirty, but politics is nasty, and people have to get nasty.
I think there's one thing is that there are quite more and more people supporting the DAB because people are quite a lot of... I hate to say that though, but... It's quite true that more and more new immigrants from the north, they're actually getting quite easy to come to Hong Kong. And after 15 years of the time, they get around 1 million people from the north. And then, of course, they become the voters, and they will support the pro-establishment, not the Pan Dem. I do think that's why the golden proportion...
So it's going to we'll have an immigrant. The percentage of Pan Dem pro-government is going to shift for demographic reasons.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So therefore, there needs to be a fundamental change of PR and a fundamental way of redefining what the parties stand for, and that's what strategically the Pan Dems have to do. It's going to take a long time.
It's happening not just here, but in a lot of countries where they're using the new immigrant population to vote a certain way, and with 150 mainlanders becoming Hong Kong citizens every
day.
Yeah,
150. Yeah,
every day.
That's a lot. That's in basic law, isn't it?
Of course, it's not the full quota is never ever taken up. It's more like 120, 100, something like that. But still, that's a lot. Our birth rate is low, which is what 0.9 to 1.2. I've heard different numbers. So Hong Kongers are killing themselves by not having more children. But I can't blame them. It's too bloody expensive. A report just came out. It costs $55 million or something to raise one kid up to 22 years old. Then you have people fleeing the city now. We're having another brain drain like we had in the 80s and the early 90s. So fundamentally, this is going to be a mainland city by 2047.
So therefore, the message should be something like Hong Kongers have more sex. If you want to protect democracy, have more sex.
I know, I'm hindered. Your fault.
Adopt. There was an article that came out that on SCMP today, and it was by Joyce Mann, who's an author of the blog Crisscross Culture. She basically said, look, I had faith in Hong Kong. I'm studying in Germany at the moment, and when I read about the NPCSC's decision, brought tears to my eyes, and I can understand that. And she says, well, I do have a Canadian passport, like a lot of people, after Tiananmen Square did, right? Actually, a lot of people weren't even thinking about moving until that point. until Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
And now she said, well, I'm really considering it, going to Canada and move there permanently. Well, there are pros and cons for that. I mean, it's fine if you're a professional. It's not so good if you're a business owner. I mean, it's a lot of pros and cons, like I said. But a lot of people are now seriously having that conversation again. Do we stay? Do we make our move? Or bottom line, do we have an escape plan?
I think all of these things need to be looked at, and I think one of the key things that needs to be looked at and that people are overlooking is what we need to do with businesses. Then there has to be some kind of concerted campaign for businesses to realise the effects of what's happening at the moment, and that's not happening. And that is largely largely due to the fact that many businesses here, particularly financial sector, are run by guilos who have got no interest or no knowledge of what's going on. I think if there needs to be a campaign of informing expats about what's going on and what are the long-term implications for business here in terms of erosion of rule of law and things like that. And that also will have a way of getting through, and it will also have a way of getting through to functional constituency members. It's long-term. It's very, very long-term. It could take 10, 20 years, but it's worthwhile doing.
Don't you forget that these Canadian chambers of commerce and other these foreign chambers of commerce, they have these advertisements saying that they go against the Occupy Central. Is quite discouraging in a way. They do realize what's happening in Hong Kong, but they only focus on the short-term return for their profit.
Because most of the people who run these companies are only here for 3 years.
If there's anything I know about banksters, is that they couldn't give... Banksters.
They couldn't give a flying fuck what happened.
Exactly. It's true. No, it's absolutely true. They don't give a rat's ass what would happen in the city. Why? Because they'll just up and find another market to exploit. Right now, this is lucrative because this is money being laundered, which is kind of slowing down now with the crackdown happening over there with the graft. And it's still a great place for money coming in, out, and out from the mainland. It's still the entreport that it always is. Now, if things change, they'll just, okay, we got Singapore, we'll go over there. Oh, we got, I don't know, Taiwan, something. They go...
Shanghai. How many of them would want to live in Shanghai?
But let's take a look. You're saying that they might care if they see erosions of rule of law. A lot of these multinationals are in China doing business. And
been stuck in jail, though, some of them.
Some of them. But that, you know what? They're bribing people, like GlaxoSmithKline got caught doing. You know what? They consider that a cost of doing business. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, their $10 billion fine is nothing compared to their $200 billion profit.
I think there has to be a worthwhile exercise to start a grassroots movement of expats or non-Chinese or non-Hong Kong locals here who are working in high-profile positions. There has to be a worthwhile exercise in getting a group of those together to get them better informed about what's going on and the long-term risks about what's going on, and then so that they can make better decisions and are more knowledgeable of what they're doing.
They'll just up and go back to London or New York or wherever they're based.
Maybe, in which case then it brings into play the whole issue of stability. They can't trash Benny Lai for dissing the stability and financial stability of Hong Kong, can they?
They don't see Occupy Central. Like, they're just playing the PR game. The Occupy Central will disrupt them. It won't. A typhoon, that is a good point. A typhoon disrupts the city 2 days. You don't.
This is going to do it for one, yeah.
Yeah, you don't see people dying in the streets because of it, right? So same thing would happen with Occupy Central. A couple of days disruption is no big deal. And plus, Central is very pedestrian friendly. A lot of above ground and below ground walkways that you can navigate, pretty well. So it's just a farce. It's just the traffic would be affected, and what do? You just divert and stuff like that.
Just walk
or take the MTR.
Bloody hell, you lazy bastards!
Right, and if you can afford it, get a helicopter.
You rich banker.
They live on the peak. That doesn't matter. That doesn't affect them.
They have an escalator. They don't even walk.
Maybe they should occupy Stubbs Road. They should occupy Stubbs Road because that's the only road going up to the peak. Damn it! Give them what they want. I want to get to my house. As far as the financial sector, the financial banking sector is probably the most bloodiest, nastiest group in the city. They couldn't care. If they're funding both sides of war in history, what do you think they care about? This little hole in the wall, rock on a map? losing its democratic freedoms, civil liberties. They could care less. If you're doing business in Venezuela, they'll do business in China.
Okay, but we have to go small. I don't disagree with you, Armand. I don't disagree with you. Your cynicism oozes from every pore of your body. But it's worthwhile looking at smaller scale things. I think you have to look at, if everybody looked at something that was particular to them on smaller scale. Like one thing that I know that I think is quite grotesquely disgusting is that insurance companies here have insurance savings plans for mainlanders, and the mainlanders come over, give them cash, pay the bill, and then go back again. That is money laundering, legitimised in the favour in the guise of a long-term savings plan. Nothing more than that. That kind of thing should be exposed. It's perfectly legal.
It is exposed. Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so people should give a shit because it's money laundering, and that is against all of the codes of conduct that multinational companies subscribe to and are bound to by law in their head offices.
Sure, but if it doesn't matter. This is small-time money laundering. Nobody cares. I mean, if HSBC can be caught doing money laundering from Mexican drug cartels and just pay a fine and nobody goes to jail, trust me. Catching a few mainlanders, putting them in jail is not going to stop the situation. It's going to continue.
Well,
I understand.
I don't agree. That's kind of giving up before you've even tried. I think even if it has been exposed, it needs to be exposed more, and it needs to be reported to the regulators in these countries.
Well, then they'll move on.
You have to be careful.
Countries.
Don't forget that we're going to have this new discrimination law. And
you may be discriminating against mainlanders, Lee.
Exactly.
By filing that report. I read a story in Apple Daily that this person was cutting in line and a person whipped out their cell phone to record the confrontation saying, get your ass back in line. You know, and she was obviously the mainlander where apparently they cut in line a lot there. Apparently. Generalize, right? But apparently that's what it was. A local started film. It went to court and the judge said, she's a mainlander. That's how they do it there. We don't understand their culture. We should be more accommodated to them. I can understand how filming can be intimidating to them, and it's actually kind of wrong to film in public. That is wrong, by the way.
Yeah,
there's no perception of privacy in public. You can record. You can do whatever you want. And you see, if that's happening in our magistrate courts.
That was in magistrate, I think.
Yes, in July.
So why wasn't it appealed?
The judge was my chamber's mate. Anyway, and but one point I think is that
was it significant?
I mean, the recording. Look at the police. What they have the new equipment with them on their shoulder now is that they have a camera. They can record the what's happening in the protest. But why the judge would criticize a citizen of filming someone is that it's your weapon. It's your weapon that someone is violating your rights. Then you can use this mobile phone to, as evidence to present it in the court. But the police can do it, but the citizen can't do it.
Clearly, if it went to a high court, the high court judge would quash what the magistrate does. I see a lot of that happening.
But luckily that was not a judgment. I think it's only her opinion.
It was her opinion, and it was the wrong opinion.
Yeah.
Right? But see, that's my point. Where this city is becoming more and more accommodating to mainlanders than locals. I mean, you see stuff saying $25 for locals, $10 for tourists.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where that was in the city, but I saw the photo and I was like, "What in the world?" In other cities, the other way around.
Usually
where it's a discount for the locals and the tourists pay a higher fee because, of course, you want your locals to repeat. Tourists only come once, where locals will come repeat.
I don't really understand. I thought they were quite rich to pay. They should pay more, right? More than we should. We're poor local people.
I see. Like I said, the culture's changing. It's unfortunate. It's true, and I think the mainland is biding their time until the demographic shift is so significant that whatever you'll have maybe 15 Pan Dems by the time it's 2040, and it really won't matter. The city will be like something else.
I would expect that happened in year 2016, though.
Well, it is a significant point of political history here. What's going to happen in 2016 will kind of shape the political future of the city, and it scares me, but at the same time, I have some hope. Because in Macau, they just re-elected their chief executive, Fernando Choi. He was brought back by a 400-strong election committee There's that word again. Words again. For election committee, again, pro-Beijing elites and politicians. 380 of the 396 votes cast were for him. North Korean style, almost 100%. And thing is, this time they had like a referendum.
Yes.
Of course, it was shut down by the police there.
Online referendum.
It was shut down by the police when they had street stations saying it violated the privacy ordinance.
Yes.
Ridiculous. But the point is when they tallied the 7,000, I think it was. I'm guessing on the number.
7,000
of online votes.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with the? Oh, sorry, it was 8,688 votes, and over 90% said they are not happy with Fernando Choi, and they want genuine universal suffrage for the 2019 election. and unlike our basic law, the Macau basic law has no provision saying that there must be a gradual progress towards universal suffrage. They're stuck with that system.
Doesn't make any mention of it at all, does it? It doesn't promise universal suffrage as an ultimate aim.
Yeah. At all. So they're in a worse situation than we are.
I also note one comment said by Li Fai, and he said that one-person election is not an election. It's just like a slam on the election in Macau, saying that yours not election. I'm telling you that it's actually a selection.
It's a selection. It is. It's not an election. It's a selection. But the good part about that is that people are getting more vocal over there, right? And we got to... Pan Dems and people who care have to continue to put the pressure on. I have to respectfully disagree with you saying that we have to appeal to the financial sector, because I think they're just blood-sucking vampires that could care less what happens to the city.
I don't disagree with your conclusion.
Again,
90%.
We can't forget this statistic. 90% of the city's business is SMEs. I think that's who we need to appeal to more.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah. So am I, and who have that's who we have to have. The Pan Dems and us with this broadcast have to appeal to, that it matters what happens, because if it's all day every day with the big businesses, they receive the favorable treatment. You'll see more regulations come in that shut down small businesses, because that's one way of getting rid of competition. It always happens in other countries. It's going to happen here as well. So you do have a stake in the future. You do want a fair system. You do want gridlock in LegCo. Gridlock is good, because then you just can't pass BS or stuff that will affect you hard. Of course, they'll change the rules like they did with the NENT development. En Lung Sing will just come in and say, vote now, but we're not in our seats. Vote now.
But sometimes when you talk about this development, then I find Hong Kong people, they are quite easily forget things, because it's only happened last month and there's no one else talking about this issue anymore.
You're right.
It's not in the news cycle, because it's not in the news cycle. Like the Edward Snowden leaks, it needs to be slow and always repeating. Keep it in the news. Now, if Snowden had dumped all the information at once, we wouldn't be talking about it by now. We'd be like, huh? Who was Edward Snowden? They released it incrementally. Oh, God. Key.
Sorry.
The point is that...
I've just registered what he'd said.
The point is that it needs to stay in the news. That's why nobody's talking about it. Trust me, once they say the bulldozers are at the gates, you'll see random people just show up there in front of the gates, and then they'll be like Tiananmen Square, standing in front of the bulldozer. That'll be the iconic Hong Kong symbol. Then that might be the next flag. No, but it has to. A lot of this stuff has to stay in the news.
Right.
Otherwise, people will just forget it.
Just like this proposal.
I don't think they'll forget this. It's going to be in the news cycle for a long time, because up to 2017, that's all that's going to be talked about.
I hope people still remember.
And in 2022, we will be halfway through one country, two systems.
Yes.
My God.
We are already 1/3 of the way through it.
Yeah.
And we're still
we don't have
about
a lot of time left.
And it's deliberate. This snail's pace of so-called reform is deliberate.
I think so too, so that they can have more people from the north.
Right.
And then even we have the universal
and people
suffrage.
here leaving.
Yeah. And then at the end, they will still get the people who they want us to elect.
So shame on you. You should go to condom manufacturers that are selling their products in Hong Kong.
Maybe on the next show. We already gave it to Lee Fai this show. Oh, and of course we have to mention one more thing. Former Hong Kong Governor Chris Patten had an op-ed in the Financial Times, basically saying that Britain has a moral and legal obligation. Don't quote me on that, but along those lines, that England must, speak up. Because
UK, correct you. Sorry, we're in the moment of a Scottish separation referendum.
Oh, it hasn't happened yet.
The United Kingdom.
My
you
mistake.
said England is the United Kingdom. Correction.
I was dreaming of a successful.
And even then it won't be right. Even then you'll still annoy the Welsh and the Northern Irish. United Kingdom.
The United Kingdom, the Queen's Kingdom.
So what about him? What about
right? So he said He said that under the joint declaration we do have an obligation to look at Hong Kong's political reforms and evolution and all that, and England shouldn't be so afraid of losing business contracts just for speaking. I mean, and then of course the person leading the inquiry to Hong Kong's one country, two systems policy, Ottaway, I believe his name is, MP Ottaway. Yeah. He said, we are in a weak position. And we were in a weak position since 1984.
Which was the more telling of the two comments, actually.
Yeah. I kind of cringed at that. But
it's true.
But it's true. And... he said that, well, we can't really do sanctions, but all we can do is give us, in my opinion, is shout, strongly worded letter, nothing more.
But he did say there was a prima facie case that they were in breach of the joint declaration.
Yes.
Which is actually, I think that's the most important thing that he said. So he was saying there's a prima facie case that they are in breach, and... technically
they will mobilize the international community.
Well, Nick Clegg said that before, but I wouldn't believe anything he says. Because
he has power?
He's a busted flush completely. That in theory, if they are in breach of joint declaration, this is something that can be taken up with the UN. So whether the British government would do it or not, I very much doubt. But it's worthwhile forcing them to do that. So I will be making a submission to the British government.
That would be the October. 10th
or 14th of October, I'm not sure which, but it's worthwhile doing.
If they were in breach of the one country, two systems policy, and it goes to UN, it will go in front of the Security Council?
I don't know. You need to ask.
If it does,
I have no idea.
If it does, China has a veto.
I don't think it was lodged with the Security Council. It was lodged. Oh, I don't know.
Neither do I.
We should know this.
Something to research.
Yeah.
I don't know what the procedure would be. I don't know where it was lodged or even why it was. I think the reason why it was lodged originally with the UN was because Deng Xiaoping wanted maximum credibility and wanted to prove to the British government at the time that he was being serious. I think that's why he did it. Because I think it has the force of international law, whatever that international law is.
Of course, then whenever Chris Patten says something, then I still enjoy reading his what he wrote, and you can really feel that he really loves Hong Kong.
He does. He genuinely cares about Hong Kong. Where else is he going to get his egg tarts?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm joking.
And
Macau.
Portuguese.
And then of course a Chinese newspaper they would say something back, and then
well, Chee-hwa Leung said something back, and Tung Chee-hwa. They dug up his corpse out of nowhere and had
Lazarus
come out and comment against what Chris Patten said. Look, Chris Patten was just saying what's on any sane person's mind. It was nothing derogatory or anything. It wasn't shameful. And then you got Tung Chee-hwa saying, "Oh, I understand how pissed off the Pan Dems are, but they got to accept this. This is an outreach. We extended a hand. Now you extend yours. We got to come together. We got to have a consensus. We got to talk. Whatever. By the way, where's Donald Jung? Why is he in the doghouse? And then you have Chee-hwa Leung's office saying, and Tung Chee-hwa also said.
Chris Patten was not elected.
Yeah, that the UK would just parachute a governor, and okay, we get that. We weren't allowed to elect our governor. We get that. Stop throwing that in our face. I blame the people back then for not speaking up. All right, they should have spoken up But again, like today's, a lot of people are saying go along to get along. They're doing the same. They did the same thing then. Actually, it was worse then, and that's why we couldn't have any type of universal suffrage. Of course, the only governor that did say we should give the people a choice in the governor was right after World War II. I forgot his name, but then he was promptly yanked by Westminster. And but my point is that we get that. Don't throw it in our face. We are more educated now. We are more politically aware now. We want a genuine stake in our future. This proposal is not in our best interest. And the Pan Dems should veto it.
I just don't understand why these commies keeps talking about the old time, about the colonial time. That when they always say that the British is a colonial, evil, imperialistic country, then now they compare it with the governor, say that, you guys were not allowed to elect your governor. Now, why you compare with the old time? Then you always say that you want us to move on. That. Are you saying that you are the new colonials, the new
point.
Hong Kong is your colony now, or what? I don't get it.
I mean, I think the point is valid that the British did nothing in 140 years in terms of advancing democracy, but it's not relevant.
Yeah, it's not relevant now. That's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
So we can just ignore them.
Shut
up, you guys.
It's a complete red herring. It's a perfectly valid comment. It's a valid observation. It's a historical criticism, but it's completely irrelevant.
Yeah. It just appeals to their crowd, really. They're the ones that are like, yes.
Yeah, it's like saying, between the death of Christ and women's emancipation in 1922 in the UK, there was no democracy, so you shouldn't have it now. It's as pathetic and irrelevant as that.
I agree. And of course, these Chinese media, they said something about the UK as well, and the reason why the chairman of the foreign affairs of the committee in UK Parliament, he will say something because the Chinese government sent a letter to them, saying
strongly
that
worded
they
letter.
Should stop the inquiry.
We don't like foreign intervention and
foreign meddling.
Meddling in Britain's affairs.
The same
And
line.
then
Saying that they don't like foreign meddling in theirs.
I think yesterday they have this new article about this matter because they said like UK is so far away. Even the whip is so long they couldn't reach over the West Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, they took over the world about 150 years ago. Their point is moot. I mean, it's just BS. It's a bunch of garbage. It's just they always use that same thing. Oh, they didn't give you democracy, so this is a big step forward and all that. No, we're more politically aware. It's a whole different ballgame. We're a very highly educated society compared to the mainland. Don't compare us. We are a whole different,
Racist.
No,
It's a whole different era. It's a whole different era.
By the way, since the Chinese love to go back in history all the time and whip other countries for what they did, they just had a commemoration of the Japanese surrender in World War II.
Yeah.
Because they said that
they make the 3rd of September.
How many million did they kill? 5?
I don't know.
3 to 5 million, something like that. Can we have a commemoration for how many were killed during the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution? I think it's pretty valid. I mean, 60 to 80 million were killed during that point. So I'd love a commemoration for that. I'd love to see Chee-hwa Leung putting a wreath for that. We don't talk about those deaths.
Yeah.
We don't talk about those deaths. We just talk about what the Japanese did because you want a war with them to distract with your domestic problems.
I have to distinguish the deaths because the people who passed away in the not passed away, they were murdered by the evil Japanese in the Second World War time. But those people in the Cultural Revolution, they just died because of no food. It's a natural cause.
That was the Great Leap Forward. In the Cultural Revolution, they were beaten to death.
Some. It's okay because they are Chinese killing Chinese.
Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay because
that's okay.
Nationalism, you love your people, you forgive them, but not Japanese. They are not our people.
Well, quotes from the Politburo Standing Committee at the time of the Cultural Revolution said, "Well, some people got to die." You know that old line. You gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. I think that's what they were saying.
Oh, who should be the eggs at the moment?
Who?
The eggs in contemporary Hong Kong. No.
Crack a few eggs here.
I think the minority, the ethnic minority, will be the first one.
They're the first ones being paid to join anti-Occupy. What are you talking about? I'd love to see them actually fight for their city, but they're like, no, we got our passport. We can leave whenever we want.
But the funny thing about when you talk about the memorializing this Japanese war in the Second World War, I find it quite funny that why the communists care about that, because
it's because they're not, with the whole Diaoyu / Sankaku Islands fiasco. This is a complete distraction from all the domestic problems that they're having.
The war ended in 1945. They established their country in 1949.
Both. But the communists did fight the Japanese alongside the nationalists. I don't know. I haven't delved into the hardcore history of that. They are both, because Japan's economy is stagnant. Abenomics has completely failed. Of course it does. Money printing never works. So they jacked up their sales tax, and that's caused consumer spending to go down. That's what happens. They're using China to distract from their domestic problems. China's using Japan to distract from their internal domestic problems. It's great for both of them. Both governments behind the scenes. It's like professional wrestling. On screen they hate each other. In the back they're like, yeah, buddy. Swiss bank account number is that.
I would like to remind all Hong Kong people that if we have to memorialize this Second World War, we always remember those who fight for Hong Kong, but not those who did it in China at that time. Because don't we have a memorial for the Second World War last Saturday of every? I think it's the last Saturday or in August.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we do. But the Chee-hwa doesn't come out.
He goes to Memorial. It does go to Remembrance Sunday.
I think he did. He did.
Okay.
He did went there. But it's quite funny that they pull out this communist flag again, and it has nothing to do with them.
Well, what can we do? It's a great time to be here. It's a great time to be alive. There's a lot of world stuff happening, not just here, but here is a very. It could be a flashpoint for something. Who knows? Anything can change in one day.
Just like the proposal, who's the first country who came out to say something that he will support? They will support Hong Kong. That's Japan.
Japan, yeah. Well, of course.
And then Taiwan.
And the U.S. is just reading off the same script twice.
Yeah. Well, this is the end of one country, two systems aspirations for Taiwan, isn't it?
I think so.
If they were ever live.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of traders in the KMT now that would bypass all this happening in Hong Kong and actually want more ties with China.
I think today the China PLC someone said something like if Taiwanese fate will also be decided by everyone in China. I think that's wrong. I think the fate of Taiwan should be decided by the Taiwanese
people, and they're far away enough that they can actually we're actually connected to the mainland, so it's very difficult to protect this border.
No, we're on Hong Kong Island. We're not.
I'm from
if England, the United Kingdom had stuck to the original treaty, they could have just taken Kowloon from Boundary Street to.
We could have put mines in the middle of the Victoria Harbour, couldn't we?
Then, I'm from
and one little island, and we could have this one little island. Anyways, that's the end of the show. We'll leave it at that. And of course, like I said, this is a good. It sucks, but at the same time, it's a good time to be here. This is history being made in Hong Kong. It always seems to be that way with this city. One way or another, we're involved in some big way. I don't think it's a bad thing to be here right now. I think people need to just fight for the city. I mean, it gets so bad you got to leave. I understand. But at the same time, you cannot tuck your tail and run right now. It's not that bad.
Yeah, this is the worst time, and this is the best time.
Yeah, it's the best of times, the worst of times. That's right. Anyways, we were going to have a guest, but I kind of fell through, and hopefully we can get him on for another time. There's no problem. This topic was so huge that we had to pretty much take up the hour. I don't think we could have got it done half an hour anyways.
Right.
And so that's the end of the show. Please subscribe on iTunes. You can just go to Eye on Hong Kong. And you can go to Facebook, facebook.com/IOnHKPod. And please share our articles. It may not be original, but, you share the article to other people. It's about getting the information out, not just, liking it. I understand. Thank you for liking it. But please, keep it going. Keep the message going. And put your own comment in it if you don't agree with ours. We want feedback. And we did have a comment.
Right.
Our logo has the Hong Kong SAR passport. Now, the original idea...
Hong Kong SAR flag.
Did I say passport?
Yeah, you said passport.
Sorry, flag. Has the Bohemian flower emblem. And I still don't understand what that has to do with Hong Kong. But I guess it's a flower that can put in the 5 stars of communism. There was one commenter on our Facebook page that said, get rid of that. A flag. It makes a lot of Hong Kong people angry. We don't like it. Change their logo. Blah blah blah. Now, my point of that logo was there's an eye.
So. I told you.
You did tell me this, but the eye on Hong Kong. We're keeping an eye on those in the government of Hong Kong and the CPG and everything else. We're keeping a watchful eye. I don't know. I guess we had a discussion. The consensus is we change it. Correct? Because I don't want to make people mad, but I hope people understand also what the logo meant. It wasn't meant to piss anybody off.
I think the design actually is quite good, like you said, and there's reason why we put an eye. We make it look like the current Hong Kong flag,
right?
And
it's recognizable. Yes, we don't like it, but if you go overseas and people who know flags will say, well, yeah, that's a Hong Kong SAR flag. Now, if we come up with a new logo, it has to be very, very distinctful that people can still say, yeah, I understand what the logo means. So we'll come up with some designs. We may put it on the Facebook page, may have a vote. We'll think about it. But for now, the design stays until we can find for something new.
Yes.
So I'm sorry if you don't like that answer, but we need some time to think about it and come up with new designs. If something catches our eye here, we'll use it.
Yeah, or suggest some
if you would like
graphics.
if you would like to actually put up a logo of your own for our show, great. Put it up on the Facebook page. We'll take a look at it. And you can also go to YouTube and subscribe there, youtube.com/IOnHK. Again, share the podcast link on your page. That is the best way to spread the message. Without spreading the message, Hong Kong English media will be dead. And then the only way you'll get any media in English for this city is through CNN or Bloomberg. And pretty much they're all homogenous. You don't really get this kind of analysis. Because we're here. We live here. This is our home. So, spread the word. That's the end of the show. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.